Hey guys, I've been getting a lot of questions recently about my grid tie 5600 watt solar system. I figured I'd do a quick review and try and give you some part numbers. I pretty much bought everything off of eBay or from Missouri Wind and Solar. Missouri Wind and Solar, I think it's .net, might be .com. The Midnight Solars are made here in Washington. These are the 250s. Pluses, I think is what they call them, or flex. They're able to take a voltage spike from they're newer, so they're able to take a voltage spike from like when the cloud does a edging or whatever they call it. Then these are SSR for solid state relay 40 amps. That's for each 110 line. See, I'm breaking one 110 line, breaking the other 110 line. So basically these two, everything here is 110, 120, whatever. American, sorry, single line, and then these two together make 240, so, you know, a water heater or whatever. And what that does is it allows flexibility. You see, like right now I'm maxing out, it's cloudy out here, a little bit of spots. I'm running 48.7, sorry, a little focus, 48.9 on my batteries, bringing in 350 watts at 7 amps. We've made 5.2 kilowatt hours today, so it was a little sunny today. And then here we've made the same 5.2, 7.6 amps. We're bringing in 69 volts, 7 amps. Battery voltage is 49. So what is basically these two guys are tied together. This is the master and this is the slave. This guy tells it when to charge the batteries, and so you'll notice that the kilowatt hours and all that are very similar, and that's because this guy is telling them what to do. Because you can only have one charge controller charging the batteries, otherwise it causes havoc. You don't have to have batteries. The only reason I have batteries is because I work in an industry where they change these out or get rid of small things, and I'm allowed to, well, some of them came from a friend, some of them came from my work, and so forth. They're not great batteries. They're either 8 or 10 years old. They're only doing a little bit of work, but they're free, and so I'll take them, and when I recycle them, I'll take them down and recycle them properly. But you don't need them for what you're doing here. Like I said, you're bringing in 10 amps on each side, so there's 20 amps coming in, and it's going down to these inverters. In the summertime, I have all these inverters on, but if you look here, you got inverter 1 and inverter 2, and one of them's off. So if you turn both these guys on, so that's bringing up my load. I don't know if you heard the fans go down, but something that was drawing energy just got shut off in the house. So you can see we're running 220 here. That's watts at 120 volts. And then there's 330, so it's about 500. And over here, 215 to 340, another 500. But they're not exactly the same, because this load may have 3 more light bulbs on it, or this might have a computer on it. If this were a 240 watt inverter, or two 240 watt inverters, they'd both be running to support the maximum voltage, and the rest would be wasted in heat. And I didn't want that. That's why I built these with the 4 inverters. I've got space for more, but this kind of does a really good job for us, and I can only run for a few hours full 4,000 watts on the batteries at night. This space is reserved because these are sensing inverters, meaning these little sensors right here are connected to the fuse box. I will show you that in just a second. I'll actually do it this time. And so they don't come on unless there's power coming in from the grid. I think you'll see electric company came out. They put in a new meter because they thought that mine was broken, because some days I go 3 or 4 days without using any power. But it's not moving. You can see that, which is really cool, but it's always there if I need it. The thing is, if commercial power goes away, the solar system, all it will do is charge the batteries. These inverters won't work without a source. That's what makes them safe. They're auto-islanding, meaning if the commercial power goes off, these will not make power, so that doesn't get sent out. What they do is they use these sensors to only send the power, only create the power that is needed for the house without sending any out. If you look right here, down at the very bottom, there's a little fluctuating number. See if I can get that in there. It's going to be hard. Fluctuating number below there, I think it says 12 watts right now. That's what it's actually allowing the grid to send into the house. So each one of these is sending, 8 to 10, 15 watts. So I'm still bringing in 20 or 30 watts to the house, and that's what it uses to sense the voltage, adjust it, adjust the sine wave. Computers work on this, everything. I haven't ran into any problems with anything with these inverters. These inverters have been going for 2 years now, and they were the cheap ones. They're GTIL 1000s. They're older, such that the new ones, these came with an external box for load control, or this automatic thing is set up in the software. I haven't upgraded my software, but these also, the new versions of these actually have Wi-Fi and stuff that you can like link to and see what's going on. I do all that through my, not really good at capturing computer images, but this is my Midnight Solar account. You see there's two, because there's two classics. They're the 150s, and this is something they provide for free. Midnight Solar does, based on your serial number of your unit. So you can do all kinds of stuff. You can see this is for today, and so it's in the middle of the day right now. It's a cloudy day, it's coming and going, so you see we're making power over here, 2200 watts at one point, and then this second one is mimicking it, very similar, although they are different panel layouts. You can see the differences. So very similar because of the weather, but the panels are in different places, so there's a little bit of difference. Anyway, that's what the blue is, and then the yellow line is my battery voltage. I can take that off just by clicking over there, or I can add it. And I can also show the energy. So the energy is what I'm actually using in the house, and that turned out to be a nice little sweep there, or average making. And it tells you kilowatt hours over here. And so I think we're, looking at about 5 kilowatt hours over there, somewhere 4 and 6. But there's all kinds of different things that you can look at, and that's why I didn't use didn't worry about the stuff for the inverters. I do it all in here. My Whiz Bang Junior stuff is here. It's installed on this one. I don't think it's installed on that one. No, it's there, but I didn't use it. Anyway, you can look at this anytime. They keep it up to date. You can see down here are different days. Like this is a really cool day. Really good power that day. Nice arch. There's another cool day. Look at that. Making light, not so light. That's a lot of sun right there. And if we look over here on this day, it's, what was it going? Looking like 9.6 kilowatt hours. You can watch it change as I move across for the day. It looks like 9.6, which means down here there's probably, it's restarting. Probably very similar. So about 20 kilowatts that day. Anyway, this is Midnight Solar stuff. It's pretty neat, and it's free that they offer with their systems. Midnight Solar account. So Midnight Solar has a website you get on, you log on, it's free monitoring for this. It just keeps records of it, and I think up to a year or whatever. And you can check it from anywhere. Like I'm at work at night, I can look at how I did that day. Anyway, so let's go look at these guys. I actually did cut these to get them through the wall, because I got them through a really small spot here. I don't know what that, I think one of them I didn't put back correctly, I think, I'm not sure. But I cut these, might have been this one because I see it doesn't have heat shrink on it. Anyway, I cut these to get them through the wall and then re-terminated the pins inside. It's real easy to do, but if you don't have that skill set, just cut a bigger hole in your wall. Mine's in a little bit hard spot to get, so that's why I did that. Anyway, let's go inside and look at how the amp clamps connect to the doodles. We're in here for looking at these amp clamps right there. So if you look really close, there's 4 amp clamps. Let's see if I can get 4 amp clamps, 2 on each line. So 2 on line 1, 2 on line 2, and 1 per inverter. And then it goes through the hole right there. which my inverters are right on the other side of that wall, so they're only about 3 meters long, if that. Anyway, there's arrows on them. You can't see any of the arrows, but there's arrows on them, and also when you pick them up backwards, in other words, flip them over 180, they don't work. So be patient. Get one up, make it work, see it work, move to the next one. And that's what I had to do, because I plugged them all in at first and they frustrated me. I don't know if I can, I'm trying to see here. Let me show you how easy they are to come off. They just unsnap and snap in. Yep, it's just hard to get around where they need to go. Something else, I've noticed in some of the comments, people said that you can put two of these together out at the inverters, split them basically, and run 1 amp clamp. I don't know that to be true. I don't know why people would lie. They probably wouldn't. But something to think about when you're hooking all this up. If you don't have any space, that's one way you make some space, is bridge a couple of the amps or the inverters together. You know, one line, 2 inverters, and then 1 amp clamp, and see what happens. It either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, then put 2 on there, or just have one sensed. A lot of different options, though. Okay, I thought I'd show you how this is wired up. So this stuff is what I use to remotely control the solid state relays. That's an auxiliary 1. It's configurable in this software. This cable, and I'm looking at the secondary unit, by the way. This cable connects to the primary over here, and then there's a dip switch that it tells you in the instructions, and I'm having trouble finding it right now, that tells which one is the master and which one is the slave. And it's pretty straightforward. It's one of these like this. Can't remember, but I don't want to waste your time. You can look in the instructions and see. Straightforward. It might also be in the memory, but in the programming. But it seems like it was in the instructions for dip switches. Then I also have this guy that connects the two over to here, and I think that's a no modem cable, meaning it's just transmit and receive, and they're straight across. Yeah. Anyway, again, it's pinned out in the instructions. I wish I could remember more. It's just been a while since I've set it up. You'll notice it's off now. Again, we're not getting much sun. I'm starting to build up a little bit on the battery voltage. But now down here, I didn't look at these before. I'm not using the Whiz Bang Junior. It was too difficult for me to get all of the outputs, which I have 4 outputs, 1 for each here. It just was turning into a wiring mess to use that. And the Midnight Solars monitor usage, energy in and out and all that, so it's almost not necessary. I got it before I realized. I actually had 2 of them. I got it before I realized it wasn't necessary. That's the Whiz Bang Junior, though. It's just a device to tell me how many amps I'm outputting at one time. I'm going to go ahead and shut these off. So, like I was saying, in the wintertime, I usually keep just 1 inverter for each line open, because I just don't generate enough electricity. If I kill the batteries that fast in the middle of the day, they won't come back up like they do in the summertime. Summertime, I bring in enough sun that it doesn't kill the batteries, but on a day like this, and again, it's you know, very overcast and rainy. You can see it's been raining around. Anyway, this is a common bus bar for negatives, and again, in the instructions it tells you how to wire up this stuff, because it's very critical. You have to have the batteries first. Let's see. Yep, the batteries first, and then you have your inverters. Batteries, Midnight Solar, then inverter, if I remember right. Let's see. Yep, it's batteries, and these are double tap because these are temp batteries. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 battery strings. Then the Midnight Solar for this side, the Midnight Solar for the other side, and then my inverters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 battery strings. Sorry, counted wrong. Now this is wired up in such a manner that both of these plugs are on the black, one line. Both of these plugs are on the white, one line. They can come on individually if they want to, but they don't ever do that, because usually, you know, it's not a light bulb that's clicking it out. So anyway, I wanted to show you this stuff over here. Alright guys, everyone was asking me about parts lists and this is and that's, and the best thing I can do, I'm not going to sit down and write it out, because making a list of my system is not going to work for you. And I mean, it could, but some of what I did is a little excessive. I'll give you an example. I don't need both of those midnight solars to run this system. I only need one. I don't need 4 inverters. I really only need, well, you can use as many inverters as you want, but if I could lose 3 of those and still be able to make power. The solid state relays over there just above the inverters, I only need 1, but I have this divided up into basically 2 systems, so I'm redundant, and that's just part of my telecom stuff. So that's why I did that. So if you're trying to build a cheaper system, first of all, you got to find solar cells that are going to work for you. I got these really cheap, and I don't know why they were selling them so cheap. They were, I think it was $97 a piece or something like that, which is just ridiculous. These are the ones I have, the 285s. They're 48 volt panels. That's why you see your open circuit voltage at 45 instead of 24. These aren't 12 volt panels or 24 volt panels. These are 24 volt panels. So your open circuit is higher than regular, because I'm designing a 48 volt system and intending on putting 2 of these together. Here's an example. This is how they're laid out on my roof. And you see they're 1-1, that's because they're paired together. And you see system 1 and system 2, because even in my documentation where I was kind of laying it out, I was thinking this was 2 separate systems. So I went to Midnight Solar with that information. You have to know your solar panels. You have to know how you're going to wire them. You know, 12 volts. I could have, if I had 12 volt panels, I could have 4 of these in one group. And that's important because when you're on your roof, this is the combiner box that's on the roof. There's actually 2 of them, 1 for each system. So 1-1 is 1 circuit, and it goes in here. And then 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. I don't have a 6, 6 for this system because I have room for expansion. And you need to know that. So you need to know what panel you want, whether you're going to use batteries, whether you want to use 12, 24, or 48 volt, or 12 or 24 panels. Figure out how you're going to lay them out. Then that helps you with what equipment you need. Okay. Then you can go to Midnight Solar and you can download this. It's one of their documents. That's the wiring diagram that I've used. I didn't follow it. I used it for educational purposes. Then you can go to Midnight Solar also, and this thing tells you what charge controller you need based on your system build. You know, it says, hey, you can use, after I enter all this information, which most of it's from the solar panels and quantities and how I'm going to wire them, then it tells me which ones I can use. It tells me how far away I am from maximums and stuff. See down here it says design check OK, excessive and excessive. So yeah, that was from Midnight Solar. And I did a couple different sizes too. I think I laid them out differently so that, yeah, this is the whole system, I think, when I only intended to have 16 panels, and then here's the half of the system. So I knew it could run together on just one unit. Here's the wiring diagram for the solid state relay. It's a 40 amp, I believe. Yeah, SSR 40DA. That's per line, so 80 amps total that I can send back into the house. The Midnight Solar, one of them came from eBay, one of them came from Missouri Wind and Solar. And that's, like you said, $500. Here's the manual for it. Inside the manual it shows all of every setup. It walks you through everything. It's not super technical, very easy for a layman to use. I mean, step by step, and it works. It's not one of those step by step and it's like, oh, I forgot to put in 3 steps. It's not it. They put everything in there you need to know. So there's kind of a breakdown of the documentation that I used. Oh, and I was going to aim them and tilt them twice a year. And I did the research for that, for where I'm at and all that. That's some information you can use. Underneath that is also the adjust for twice a year tilt, and then the, see that Sun 1000G TIL are the ones that I have. They're grid tie internal limiter is what I have. So just to really quickly break down, add all that up, you got 2 midnight solars, you got 2 solid state relays, 4 inverters. Those inverters go back to the breaker box like I showed you. These guys are readily available on eBay. I can't remember what they're called, like grounding strips or daisy chain strips. I looked them up. It's in the comments of the video, of the main video. They're super cheap and awful handy, because you can jumper across and then you can break a connection. You know, like I could wire something else up here that's isolated from that. Each one is isolated. These jumpers tie them together. As far as the power wire goes, because I ran 48 volt system, I was able to run 12 gauge on my panels up there. Ooh, the sun's coming out. We might get some power. I was able to run 12 gauge to my combiner box and 6 gauge from the combiner box down. That's what size that is. These are coming from the roof of combiner box A, combiner box B. This is just 6 gauge. I have it isolated so I can ground them and everything. There's my ground wires that aren't connected yet still, because I'm lazy. But typical, you get something working and then you walk away from it. It's been working. I haven't done anything to it. I cleaned the solar panels last year, and this LED on this guy is flaky. Sometimes it doesn't go on and sometimes it does. Other than that, it's pretty much the same system. I haven't touched it. 5600 watt capable. Around here we only get about 4800 watts max, 4600 watts max because of the sun. The batteries, like I said, not necessary, but super nice. And we're bringing in 71 volts, 5500 or 500 watts, 10 amps. Battery voltage 52. They don't come back on until 54.5, but we're making some good kilowatt hours this day, even though it's like this. I mean, the sun just came out, but still. Anyway, there's an update. If I missed something, I think I answered all the questions people were asking. Most of them were about parts, and like I said, an actual parts list. You know, I use these screws and this. Oh, I just remembered. So here's a list of the stuff from eBay that I got. So these MC4 connectors, you got to have them. You're going to end up using more than you think, so get extra. That's what you use to connect your wires that connect your solar panels to everything. Watertight O-ring things. These S2 mounts, I use those because I have a standing seam, no exposed fastener roof, and these panels, the system that I designed the system, you've seen it in the first video, these mounts were designed to clamp on those without making any holes. I know they're stupid expensive, but they were necessary. The solar charge controllers, those are midnight solars. One at this price, one at that price. Panels, total were $1873. Inverters, $670. Kind of gives you an idea of what was spent. I think it was $3,500. God, I'd have to add it all up again. But remember that there's awesome tax stuff available, so a lot of that money comes back to you.